Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. England have thrashed India by 10 wickets to book their place in the final tomorrow against Pakistan. And they completely deserved to win the game. I thought apart from the last 7 overs of the first innings, there was no phase that India took control of. And yeah, I was very confused watching this because I before I watched this game in my previews, I was going as far to think that it was actually an 80 to 90% chance of India winning. I think that looking at what you've seen in this tournament and in in the recent months, India went to England and beat them convincingly in both the T20I series and the ODI series. I think England haven't beaten India in a T20I bilateral since 2014 and haven't beaten India in a white ball series since 2018. So I thought this would really be quite a convincing Indian win. I thought, especially on the day where they were playing, things did favour them. And the only thing they had to really get right was, yes, the bowling at the end, of course, but I thought that the thing that they mostly had to get right was that I thought that in my preview, the team batting first would relish their chances because both sides would look to bat the opposition out of the game. And with the conditions on show, you can look to do that. And I thought the openers getting India off to a great start, along with Suryakumar Yadav and Hardik Pandya going about the way they do, was imperative for India to get to that 190 or 200 total. And even 180 would have kind of made a decent game out of it. I mean, I didn't expect England to get the 170 in the way that they did and that quickly. But I still thought if India got 190 to 200 and kind of were more confident going into that second innings, I thought that it would have been a much more difficult task for England, and India probably would have been the favourites to win the game at that stage. The only problem is, the reason why I didn't mention one name in that top 5 is because, in my view, look, when you're playing against England, especially this version of England, I think that ever since 2017, they've kind of been on this aggressive approach, especially from 2019 onwards. And I think that you have to have runs in the bag against this England team to play with, and you have to kind of fight fire with fire. I do believe that the likes of KL Rahul can do that. But the problem is, if you've got a Virat Kohli at number 3 against England, especially if you're playing outside India, I think that there is a clash of philosophies. Now, what we have seen so far in this tournament, especially against Pakistan, is in that 180 periphery, where, as long as the score doesn't exceed that, and he can kind of take his time and unleash at the end, he's a master of doing that. But I think there is a clash of philosophies when you've got this England side who, yes, the middle order isn't in great form at all, but you've got probably their most two confident players right now with the bat are their two openers, who are best placed, you'd think, to kind of embody that philosophy. And I think that when you've got Virat Kohli in the side, it is a bit of a clash in that sense. And that's why the second wicket partnership, where Rohit Sharma, who I thought would actually go really well in this game, I think you saw what has historically been seen, where both these two players have struggled against, well, when I say struggled, not scored at the quickest rates against wrist spin in the middle overs. And I thought Adil Rashid and Liam Livingstone, who kind of bowls a bit of everything, I thought they had quite an easy job against these two. They did their job, yes, but I thought they were aided a lot by the players who they were bowling to. And yeah, the first 13 overs especially put India on the back foot hugely. I thought KL Rahul being dismissed certainly was something that wasn't going in favour of India winning the game on the day. I thought him and Rohit Sharma having a great start was imperative for India to win the game. And the Kohli and Rohit Sharma partnership never really got off the ground. I think in my view they tried to set a foundation in order for kind of Suryakumar Yadav and Hardik Pandya to take this total to 180 or 190. And the moment Suryakumar Yadav was dismissed, it left the job all for one guy. He did his job at the end. I think 88 runs in the last 7 overs. And it just shows what could have been if a better foundation was laid in the first 13 overs. I thought if you get 80 runs in the first 13 overs on a flat track against this England side, you've already gone more than halfway in losing the game. And 169 as a target, yes, India could have made a better game of it. I thought against an England side where the middle order basically hasn't contributed at all. But as long as the openers were batting and with kind of the confidence levels that they have at this point in time, especially after their exploits in the previous two games, I thought Josh Buttler against New Zealand was very good. Even though since he has been made captain, he had a bit of a lull, but against New Zealand he was very good. And Alex Hales and Josh Buttler with 70 against Sri Lanka on the power play in their previous game, and today they took confidence from that to here and played absolutely magnificently. So I thought that India could have made a better game with what they got. I thought apart from Arshdeep Singh and Akshar Patel, none of the bowlers really got it right. And I was confused why Arshdeep Singh only bowled 2 overs because, he was apparently being reserved for the death overs, it seemed, even though there was no such thing by the end. So England thoroughly deserved to win the game. I mean, if you look at the way the seamers went, probably their best seamer so far, Sam Curran, was actually went at above 10 and over on the day. I thought Chris Jordan would go for runs, and he did. And Ben Stokes, yes, it looked like, I think, 5 for 61 in 10.2. But the fact is, this side so far, and if you could even include this game as well, haven't had a test at all. This isn't the best bowling attack, but I think that with the way that Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli were going, I thought that their spinners had probably one of the easiest jobs they would have. And Ben Stokes, I thought, as I said, the moment he came up against a side that could attack him, he gave 18 runs in 2 overs and he didn't bowl another over. So I thought that against the Pacers, India did get things right. Unfortunately, that spell against the spinners was something that did put them on the back foot. And with the way that Alex Hales and Josh Buttler batted on the day, it was going to be very difficult to contain them, especially if the bowlers didn't get it right. And so, I don't think the blame should completely go on the bowlers. I do think the first 13 overs went a huge way in kind of determining the result then and there. But I do think India could have made much more of a game. I know on the England side, you may think, why am I not saying too much about England? And the fact is, there isn't really too much to say. Their spinners kind of ensured the advantage from the start. And even though they went for a lot of runs at the death, it was always going to be a score where they would have taken from the start. They had to chase 169 in these conditions. And as long as the openers didn't get out, India were never really going to be in the game at all. On Alex Hales and Josh Buttler, like I said, they didn't have standout performances as such before this. I think that ever since the New Zealand game, they have got better. And I think especially today, they completely bossed that second innings. And this won't be the same game against Pakistan in the final, of course, in conditions where, especially in the first innings, there's a lot more purchase for the fast bowlers. And there is quite some in the second innings as well. And I don't think they'll be able to kind of do the same against the Pakistan bowlers in those conditions and against that attack. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare. I think that, of course, the middle order will have to be better than what they have been so far. I think I may have said this already, but R. Ashwin has better batting stats than Ben Stokes, Moeen Ali and Harry Brooks so far in this competition. And if the similar happens, then you think it wouldn't really bode too well for England. Now, I think the side batting first will actually struggle quite a bit. I think if they do win the toss, they will look to bowl first, with both batting sides kind of being fragile ones. You'd think that the side bowling first will have a huge advantage. And I think even if England do have to bat first, if they somehow get to that 140, 150 mark, yes, Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan did score runs the previous game, but they were chasing 150 in, you could say, less challenging batting conditions than what would be at the MCG against a side that completely got it wrong. And I think chasing 140 or 150 in this situation against an England side, if they do get it right, I think England can influence a scoreboard pressure to build, which is always a viable option when you have got those two batting at the same time. And yeah, I think in terms of Pakistan, I think Mark Wood maybe not being available. He wasn't available for the India game, and I don't think he will be available for the final. I think it will be a huge advantage. The likes of Shardab Khan, I think, will be able to fancy his chances against their bowlers if that is the case. And he will be integral once again in Pakistan, scoring the runs that they need to score or setting a total. And I think the best case scenario for both sides is batting second, especially for the Pakistan side. I think if they have to bat first, kind of in the unknown with the two openers that they have, then I think they may slightly struggle if they, considering the fact that they may not know what will be enough. So it'll be a great game to watch, I'm sure. Who do I think will win? I still do think England will get the job done if the game is played. Although if it's the case where Pakistan do bowl first, then it will be a very interesting contest. But the game may not even be played. I think that on the finals day and the reserve day, there is a high chance of rain, and I think the last result is a 10-over contest, which I think England would be the favourites for, with the firepower they have with the bat. Albeit you could really say that the ones after the two openers aren't really in the condition to offer what they would offer if they were in form. So it'll be an interesting game. I do think overall England can compete more. Yes, Pakistan have the better bowling attack, but with their openers, there is a chance to kind of create a scoreboard pressure, which is the opposite for the English openers. And yeah, I think that both the fragile batting lineups will have to kind of be wary of not getting themselves into a hole, because especially when batting first, it will be a very tough proposition. So let's see how that game goes. And I do think if the game is played, England should get the job done. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Please share it with a friend. Remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?